Adrian, thank you so much for your partnership with Cognizant. The Oxford Economics study, which we did together, was a wonderful one. One of the fascinating things about this study on generative AI and its impact on jobs, occupations, and tasks, I call it the anatomy of tasks. I think you took a very exhaustive list of almost 18,000 tasks and 1,000 plus occupations. But it was the US consensus data. What does it do if you extrapolate that to the world situation? Is it going to be very different in terms of impact?
Yeah, I think there are some lessons we can learn in terms of how that might play out across other countries. So we might expect to see a smaller impact in many emerging or developing economies, although I think it's worth remembering that even within those, there are sectors where we can expect to see pretty significant impacts. To sort of think about, obviously, things like the Indian IT or business outsourcing sectors. They're going to be pretty aggressive, you would think. Other economies that are going to benefit from AI relatively quickly, I think, are ones that are very open to foreign direct investment. Then they're going to be benefiting from technology transfer that's going to help those economies use the technology relatively quickly.
I know you quantified some numbers for the US economy in terms of GDP impact and factor productivity impact and productivity in general. Would you give us a little bit of summary of that?
Yeah, so what we found, for instance, is that by 2032, generative AI in our most optimistic case could be adding something like 4% to overall GDP, really driven by driving up productivity within the workforce. And just to put that in context, in a sort of long run basis, the US economy typically grows by around 2% or so a year on average. So in this scenario, we could be talking about generative AI doing the equivalent of providing another 2 years growth. There's a really useful database that the US government sponsors that looks at 1,000 occupations, but breaks those down into 18,000 different tasks. And each occupation is made up of about 4 to 40 of those different tasks. So what we wanted to ask was, of the 18,000 tasks, which ones are going to be significantly impacted by generative AI, going to be assisted to a greater or lesser degree, which ones might be fully automated away, and which ones are going to effectively be not impacted at all. It's going in at such a micro level to think about how generative AI is actually going to change what we're doing day to day in our roles, and then working up from that to the overall macroeconomic impact, which is the unique part of what we've done in this study.
I truly believe this is one of those technologies which has that unique opportunity to amplify human potential, not replace humans, because the output is probabilistic. It's not deterministic. And because it is probabilistic, you need a human in the loop to complete the cycle, if I may, because computers are trying to understand humans. You don't have an interface. You don't have skills needed to leverage it. It's going to be much more humanized as you go forward. So that I truly believe there is the optimism attached to it. If you make it responsible enough, it is much, much superior.
I do think there are quite dramatically different ways in which this technology may affect society and people's work opportunities compared to previous general purpose technologies. I mean, just starting from a macro level, if I may, I think a lot of the challenges that we face as societies right now are a reflection of the fact that rates of economic growth have been disappointing, really, since the global financial crisis. That's resulted in people's aspirations for their living standards being disappointed, but it also means that we just haven't had the resources that we might otherwise have had to put towards social care, healthcare, education, etc. With generative AI offering the potential to significantly raise the rate of underlying economic growth and make the economy significantly bigger over the course of the next decade, that's going to both impact on people's individual living standards, but in particular, it's going to mean society has more resources to deal with problems of aging, the provision of health and social care, and so on.
In fact, Adrian, unlike the technology discontinuities of the past, where there was some kind of a pattern that repetitive tasks at the bottom of the pyramid are going to be eliminated, in generative AI, that homogeneity is kind of missing because it could impact across the spectrum. And, this is the first time a knowledge worker is getting more impacted than others. And the entry barrier for specialized jobs is going to go down. We're going to de-skill jobs, if I may. And it's some kind of a leveler. The people who are less productive in that chain actually get benefited much more than the people who are more productive. In fact, we went through the developer community at Cognizant, and we found that the bottom 50 percentile actually got positively impacted much more than the top 50 percentile of our developer community. So it's kind of a leveler, if I may.
So I think it's a leveler potentially in that sense, but then being more specific with regard to impacts on individuals, I think you're right that it does make certain occupations that perhaps people didn't have the right skills for in sort of today's labour market maybe open up into the future.
Absolutely, Edwin. And in fact, skilling is going to be very, very important if we want to pivot this in the right direction. I kind of think technology will get more intertwined with core domains, and therefore the skills you need is you need a biology major with computing, computing skills. You need a chemistry major with the computing skills. You need anthropologists and sociologists to find the next purposeful problem, while solving of problems will be done by machines. So there is such a wonderful way to pivot the future. So what we want to do here on is take this study as the preliminary pivot on analyzing every job and every task underneath a job in our client industries. We also have an initiative called Synapse, which is an initiative for skilling in the communities. And a lot of these operational jobs are in our communities. So we want to reskill a million people in our client communities and in our employee communities who would benefit out of AI skilling, so that they can actually make their jobs more purposeful. So this is the way forward for what we want to do with Cognizant, what we want to do at Cognizant, and what it means for our clients and our employees. Thank you so much, Adrian, for this wonderful conversation. And I look forward to continuing on this research and continuing to double click on each of the industries our clients actually participate in, and make this very contextual to industries and specific enterprises.
Oh, well, thank you so much. We really enjoyed working on this project. It's absolutely critical to how the world economy is going to develop into the future, and it's raised loads of really interesting and challenging analytical questions for our team, and we do really look forward to drilling into more detail with you. It's been great working with Cognizant on this.